Hey everybody,
Hello.
and welcome back. I'm Roddy.
I'm Lenny.
And again, for those who don't know, again, this is a vlog kind of about our life here in Mexico as a family of three. And today we're just going to kind of give a little detail about people who may be considering moving to Querétaro. And we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about this areas kind of surrounding Querétaro, predominantly to the north. Because again, we know there's a lot of areas, but we're going to focus on 4 areas in particular, which are what?
Which are Juriquilla, Zibata, Refugio, and Zakia.
So again, we obviously know that there's a lot more areas on that are kind of considered suburbs and very nice ones. But these are 4 that we're kind of familiar with. We do live on the north side of town, so we do travel to pretty much all 4 of these pretty regularly, or at least have been to all of them quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we can kind of get some good input. Now, I guess starting, we want to say if people are coming to Querétaro and you may be considering one of these 4 places, I think one of the key things is you pretty much need a car, right?
I agree.
Now, a lot of these places are self-contained, and there are people who do live in these areas who don't have cars, right? And they do tend to say they get along fine. But again, I think if you want to travel or you want to go into Centro, you can either take Ubers, right, or the bus or taxis, whatever you want. But again, I think just for ease of moving around town, it would be better to have a car in these areas.
Yeah.
Okay, not necessarily, but better.
I think when people move to Querétaro, most people will choose to live in the El Centro, which is the historical Centro.
Right.
Yeah, sure. At the beginning, like we did, we rented a house in the Centro for about nearly 1 year until we feel, we need more green space for our kid and our fur babies and for us.
Yeah.
So finally, we decided to move outside of the Centro. But we just have a quick brief view of how we feel like living the Centro and Querétaro, in case some people still are wondering how it is, the pros and cons. Just very quick.
Sure. So when it comes to the Centro or the areas kind of surrounding the Centro, again, you're going to tend to be I want to make that very clear, with older buildings, right? And so with older buildings come more issues.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest kind of cons when you're dealing with in and around Centro, which again could be things like electrical or plumbing. Again, so these could be little inconveniences that people have. As compared to the place we're going to talk about today, they often be very new within maybe 10, 15 years, and so they tend to have a little bit less problems.
Like when we lived in the El Centro, we have a water pump.
Yeah.
So for upstairs shower, sometimes like, why the water, there's no pressure, it's so low. And we got to turn on the pump every day. Right. Literally every day. And then don't forget to turn off.
Yeah. Right. You have to fill up the tank on top that kind of gives you the water pressure. Yeah. So again, that's a little issue. But of course, one of the biggest pro, I guess people talk about, is just your proximity to a lot of different
restaurants,
activities and amenities.
Yeah,
right?
It's just easy.
Right. There's so many things in Centro, which again, I think that's one of the main reasons why people tend to move there when they come and they don't have a car. I mean, right? You're right.
Yeah.
Restaurants, food, hospitals, everything
anything,
you need,
language schools,
right?
Yeah.
Anything and everything you need is going to be within walking distance. So of course that's the biggest pro.
And another thing is just for me, maybe not for everyone. I'm a very sensitive person. There's all the church bell.
Sure.
Just constantly ding ding ding.
Constant church bells.
Morning, evening.
Constant fireworks.
Fireworks can be 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
7 o'clock in the evening, and it lasted forever. Like it never stopped.
Right.
Yeah, that also bothers us a lot.
So, that's definitely a big issue.
And the narrow streets.
Right. Cobblestone.
Not enough parks.
Right. Not enough parks and green space.
There is the Alameda Park.
Alameda Park, which is the biggest park.
Is very nice.
Right. It's a very nice park, which is the biggest park by far, I think, in the city. I would guess.
Yeah.
But again, if you don't live right next to it, it might be a little bit of trouble. It'd be a good walk. Like where we lived, it was literally on the other side of the historic.
Yeah, you're still gonna walk.
So it would be like a 15-plus-minute walk, probably to get there. But again, it is a nice park. A little bit older, but it is very nice. Very mature trees. It's always very cool in there. Very nice. But as far as general, little small, closer parks and little neighborhood areas are far and few in between. And again, they tend to be older. If you do find them, they tend to be much older style, broken down a little bit. Even places like in Los Alamos, right? They also do have that very nice park in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
But again, a lot of the equipment was broken. One of the slides was broken. They had the little rope bridge in the middle, and the rope bridge was broken, so they couldn't. So
that's the issue.
Again, Los Alamos, a nice area, very popular. People like it, but even things like that, just because again, it's older.
Yeah,
right?
It's older, and they really don't have the money to maintain it
right.
or exchange it.
Right.
So that caused some danger for the kids.
Right. So that kind of goes to the reasoning of why we kind of decided to move out a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to try to break things down into 4 categories. There's probably some other ones we could use, but we're going to look at whether to rent or buy and the cost in each of these places, the amenities, green space, and schools and hospitals.
And
right? We're putting schools and hospitals in one category, but kind of give you an idea. Okay. So let's start with the other side of town, right? Which is like the Juriquilla part of town.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think Juriquilla probably is the most popular for expats stay. Even in the forum group, people recommend Juriquilla. And we went there even last weekend. And even just in the kids' playground with Louis, we heard so many people, a few parents already speak English. And we went to the supermarket, HEB there. It was very crowded. It feels more crowded than here in Refugio. For sure. And I did hear more English. So I feel there are more foreigners live there in that part of the town. And
I would say like outside of Centro, that's probably Juriquilla is probably the number one spot for foreigners. Again, the one thing that people like about Queretaro is that there's never an area where people where expats are kind of gather. There's not one a hot spot, but if you had to choose one, probably Juriquilla, right? So when it comes to like rentals or buying houses there, how would you compare that? What would you say price wise? Is there a range?
It can. I think it's varies.
Sure.
Price range. Yeah. You can find from apartments there to townhouse or bigger house, right? And the price range, I think, it's pretty similar. Like the 4 places, you can find similar prices.
Sure.
Maybe like, let's talk about dollar, and then maybe $500-$600 for a smaller apartment
to rent. Right?
Yeah, to rent. And of course, you can go higher. It can be in a nice high building, a condo higher building.
Oh, like a tower, right?
The tower, there will be more. Sure, there will be more. Maybe over $1,000, $1,500. It really depends on the year of the building and the location,
right,
and the size,
right. And
for the casas. Right, I think I don't know the price very well. Don't count on me, but I feel you can find something maybe $800, $1,000, depends on
the entry level, right?
At the entry level, you can find it.
Right, maybe a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit older.
Yeah, older, right.
And I think that's the thing about these 4 areas, like we were talking about earlier. They're all pretty similar. There may be a little bit more. I think maybe Juriquilla and Zibata may be little bit more pricey.
Yeah.
But we're talking about because one of the things we noticed, we'll get to that next, is like in Zibata, and we'll get more into that detail that I was about to talk about. But let's talk about
Juriquilla first.
Juriquilla, okay. Juriquilla, we already talked about the cost. Amenities. Well, that's one of the big things, and what makes Juriquilla so popular is that there's so many amenities close by, right? You're talking about pretty much everything you need, right? You're gonna have all your smaller stores and your little small local restaurants and dentists and pharmacy, everything, all that you need. But
and the biggest shopping mall. Antea Life Center.
Right, they do have the biggest shopping mall in Mexico, one of the biggest ones in Latin America, Antea. And then you're also going to have your big box stores. You're going to have your HEB, La Comer, Home Depot. Is there a Costco there? Or maybe I think a Costco's coming.
Sure.
I think Costco's coming.
And Decathlon for the sportswear.
Or they even have a Decathlon, right? So they're going to have pretty much everything you need, right?
All our favorite buffet restaurants are over there. I'm still waiting them to move here or have the branch here.
Yeah, if you've seen our other videos where we go to the buffet, they're all in Juriquilla.
Yeah.
And they do actually have some very, very nice restaurants in Juriquilla just in general.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That's the thing about, I think that's what makes Juriquilla so popular, is that there's so much stuff there and it's already been established.
Yeah, you have the kids playground, the Chuck E. Cheese there, and so many like big American brand shops there.
Yeah,
you drove in from outside of Querétaro. You drove in from the Highway 57. Then you say, "Wow, am I in some city in U.S.?"
Yeah,
you have the feeling.
Yeah,
this is the feeling I never had when we drove to some other surrounding smaller or similar sized cities.
Sure, right.
I didn't have that feeling.
And I guess then one other thing you can consider, and you may want to consider an amenity or not, or a convenience, is that it's distance to San Miguel de Allende.
Yeah, it's closer.
Right. Of all the places in Querétaro, is probably the closest place. I mean, for us, it's right about a little over an hour and 20 minutes. So let's say an hour and 20 minutes to get to San Miguel de Allende for us. Well, Juriquilla is 20 minutes away from us. So
yeah.
if you live in Juriquilla, it's probably, and depending on where you live in Juriquilla, you're probably looking at under an hour to get there.
Right.
So a very short trip.
Yeah, Juriquilla has a few neighborhoods. The most popular one is the Santa Fe.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not double gated. It's a single gate. When we drove there, it's also...
I don't know. But
because nobody checked our ID when we drove into the place.
Oh, you mean to get in? Yeah.
Santa Fe.
Yeah, when you get into Juriquilla, there's no main entrance, right? Kind of like here in Zakia.
Yeah.
You just drive in and anybody can drive around.
Right. And it does have a few new developments in the north or surroundings. Juriquilla also expanding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely. They're moving out. They're definitely expanding. Now, when it comes to green space, they do have one big, nice park. I forget. We've been there maybe twice, so I kind of forget its location relative to where, like, the center of Juriquilla.
It's what you mean with the lake? Lake,
where we took Louis, had the little race car, the race track.
Oh, yeah, there's a public park.
Right, that's the biggest one.
Yeah,
right?
That was the biggest.
And then they have a couple of smaller ones in the middle, like the Santa Fe, right in the middle. That's the one that we like to go to. It's a very small park, but it's very nice and well kept and maintained. Nice mature trees, so it gives you shade.
Yeah.
But I wish I could remember the name of the other one. But that one's pretty fun too.
Yeah.
It has a lot of stuff there that you can do.
There's a lot of kids' playground.
Huge playground.
It's all covered. Yeah,
Right.
we forgot the name. If I remember, I can put it on the screen.
Yeah, we'll put it there.
Some idea.
The play area did have the canopies, and it was a very large playground.
Yeah.
Probably maybe one of the big ones I've seen as far as playgrounds. But some of the pieces were broken. Like a lot of places here in Mexico, playgrounds, even in places like Juriquilla, you do see a lot of broken parts.
Yeah.
Right. But it was so big, it was okay.
Yeah, it does have a lake there. Besides the small lake in Santa Fe, and that has a lake, we saw some ducks, and it has a what restaurant? I forgot. Argentina restaurant on top. But that was a long time ago.
Out by the golf course, the Paseo de Patos and stuff where you go, right? We have the ducks.
Yeah, and
that's on the very edge. We're between Juriquilla and Juriquilla.
Yeah,
right.
But we drove there once. It kind of a little bit disappointed. Not much walking space.
No, it's like either you go to the restaurants and to look at the lake, or that you can't really like walk around the lake unless you live in those neighborhoods that kind of surround it.
Yeah, and we did drove to another green space we saw on the Google map. Like, let's go there to check it out. And I also kind of disappointed. We did see some ducks, but it's not really a walking space.
No, it's not really a
trail,
park, right?
And it's kind of
just grass.
Yeah, it's green.
So it's kind of give and take a little bit in Juriquilla. Now, when it comes to schools, moving on, I know they do, I guess, some would consider maybe the best international school, right? Which would be the American school, which is the JFK school. So again, if you have kids, right, and you want to send them to and again, I know it's kind of people have different opinions about what is the best, but in general, if you want to send your kids what's kind of considered the best international school, then again, you might want to live in Juriquilla and send them to the American school. But they do have a lot of other schools, international schools in the same area, right? That are also very nice, top quality. So the schools are nice. And then you go to the hospitals, right? Oh yeah,
there are a few new ones, right?
I think the newest hospital in Queretaro is there, which is the Moscotti, right? Which that's the newest state of the art hospital in Queretaro.
It's still not finished.
I think that the top floors are still finishing it off, but I mean it's very nice, very new, big tower. Can't miss it when you drive in. So I'm sure there's other smaller hospitals and clinics. There are so many there. The other day I also saw another big hospital is on the way there. On the way, right? I forgot the name. Right. So they do have probably what's considered the best school, and definitely the newest, probably most modern hospital. Yeah. Are both in Juriquilla, right? So those are two big pluses for the Juriquilla area.
And it's close to the highway, 57.
Yep, right off 57. So if you want to go out of town, whether you're going to Mexico, going south into Mexico City, or going north in towards San Luis Potosí and beyond, you're right on it. You get off 57 and just go, which is one of the main highways that goes. I think it goes the whole country. I know it goes from the border, right, in Texas, all the way down to past Mexico and beyond. Right. Yeah, but sometimes the traffic is pretty bad. Once we stuck there on the way back. Yeah, especially right now because there's a little bit of construction going on. They're redoing some bridges and stuff. So yeah. Yeah, we know people live there now. I met a lady. She told me, "Oh, we just moved to the Centro. We couldn't stand the traffic." Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. But only for this moment. Right. Yeah, I think it's a temporary. I think they're trying to fix it to make it better. Right. Okay. Now, besides Juriquilla, moving on to our next place, we'll talk about Zibata. Right, Zibata. Now, Zibata is probably also considered one of the nicer areas. I would put Juriquilla and Zibata as far as price and I guess what people would consider nicer. I would kind of put these two on the same level. Maybe they're just on opposite sides of the mountain. There's kind of a mountain that splits. Queretaro. On the west side is Juriquilla. On the east side is Zibata, Refugio, and Zakia.
Yeah, and the Zibata is not really in Queretaro.
No,
it's in the El Marquez.
Right, El Marquez, just like Zakia. Right? Technically not in Santiago de Queretaro.
Right.
So Zibata is up on the very top of the mountain. It probably has the highest elevation of these four places. And I think of all the places here in Queretaro, in the kind of city of Queretaro.
Yeah.
Right?
And they're the same developer. Juriquilla, Zibata, Zakia. I don't know about Refugio. Maybe Refugio is another developer.
Right. But Zibata is very nice, and this is like we talked about earlier. It is like kind of you have to go through multiple gates depending on where you're going. You have to go through at least probably 2 gates, maybe even 3 gates to get to your final destination, or maybe your house. Right. There's the main gate when you drive in, and they're a little bit more strict there. They'll make you pop your trunk. They will actually look at your ID. They'll where are you going? And they're going to ask you very, very detailed. And that's just to get into Zibata.
Once we went there, we just want to check out the restaurants there.
Right.
And the security lady asked us, so which restaurant? So we don't know. We don't know. That's how we go to check it out. Right. We haven't made up our mind yet. And she said, oh, okay. Right. Then they really ask you detailed questions.
Right.
And also when you leave, they got to check your trunk again. Like even from each gated community, I think they also checked our. Right.
So for safety, it's definitely up there. Right?
But also for visitors, it gets annoying.
It can get a bit of an inconvenience.
I'm not a C, but excuse me again.
Yeah, every time, right? So the good and the bad, right? But again, as far as overall safety, I guess for most people, they'd probably be okay with a little extra added safety.
Right. For people who live there, sure.
Right. So I would kind of, like I mentioned earlier, I would kind of put the rents and buying there as kind of on the higher end of these 4 places. I think maybe even more expensive than Juriquilla in general, because I know they have some big houses there.
They do, yeah.
Right? I know in Zibata, again, I'm not 100% sure in this in Juriquilla, but I've never really seen it. Like people just build their own houses.
They do. They do have some
small
lots.
Areas.
Yeah, maybe not in Santa Fe, but outside, surroundings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe on the outside, but they do tend to have a lot more like of the developers kind of buildings, right? In Zibata, they do have the developers, building the apartments and small communities, but they also, I think they have a lot more lots where you can just kind of buy your own and then build your own custom home. Right? So if you're looking to build a nice big custom home, I think Zibata could be a place to go.
Yeah, right? You can face 2 directions. One is face here, you can see Zakia, and the other is on the back.
On the back side.
See all the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, the view is pretty.
Right. And it's kind of its little own self-contained city. I think that's one of the things. I know they do have a lot of stores. I think they said they have a Walmart neighborhood in there, or the smaller Walmart with the green sign, whatever that's called.
And HEB.
I think they said an HEB, a small HEB is going to be on its way, is being built up there as well. So you live in Zibata, you kind of live in your own little bubble.
Right.
You don't really ever have to leave Zibata. You pretty much have everything because it is a little bit further. From Zibata to Centro, you're probably looking at, and again, I'm talking from the gate, right? So from the gate to Centro, maybe 20, 25 minutes. Yeah. But again, now you have to consider how far into Zibata do you live.
Yeah, you live.
Right. So that could add another 5, 10, 15 minutes, right? Depending on where you live in Zibata. So as far as pricing, again, maybe similar to Juriquilla, maybe a little bit
higher, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we kind of noticed here, because a lot of the developers here in Zakia, where we live, are the exact same builders and even same models up in Zibata. Yeah. Exact same. Exact same.
Like for a very specific example, for one of the houses, I noticed that. So we went to check the models here. Here, maybe you could get it for 2.5, 2.6 mil. Pesos. And then you get a similar model in Zibata, probably starts from 3.2.
Same model.
Similar models. Yeah. And it's just the land costs more.
Right.
That's how it is.
The land, just the kind of the exclusivity of it, right? It makes it a little bit more expensive. That's something to kind of take into consideration. So if you do like that little bit more exclusivity, a little bit more privacy, and kind of being, very secure area, you're going to pay for it. But some people like that and enjoy it, right? Now, moving to the next thing, I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit, was the amenities and the conveniences of living there. It is pretty self-contained, but I don't think you have as much variety, right? Because I know we've been there a couple of times, and we never we haven't been through all of Zibata.
But there are a few malls, a few plazas.
Maybe two. There's 2 main ones when you walk in.
I don't feel there's so many varieties of choices of restaurants there.
Right, they have the 2 main plazas.
Yeah.
And besides those 2 main ones, when you kind of drive in the main gate of Zibata, if anybody happens to be Zibata listening and we're wrong, let us know. Because as far as I know, there's just those 2 main ones when you drive in, and then besides that.
Maybe someone is in the back of their building. We don't know.
Right, and like I said, and there have a HEB coming, so I know it's on the way. Right.
Yeah.
I think when we first moved here, they said. I remember we talked to the taxi driver because it was one of the places we considered. He said, "Oh, it's maybe 10, 12 years old." So again, it is still in the development phase. There still is more stuff to be built there, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I could be a couple years off, but I know I'm not much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there's as many conveniences there yet. I think they're still on the way, right? Now, what about green space?
Green space, I found that the parks there is smaller than compared to where we live.
Where we live, Juriquilla, Zakia. I think the smallest.
Yeah.
Like the kind of like we're talking maybe about more the kids areas, right?
The kids area, I know they have a few parks, but more walking trail.
Kind of walking trails,
right? But for kids playing area,
I've just kind of seen the main one, right? They had the paddleball court and stuff.
Yeah, that's like the
paddleball court,
right?
Small basketball court. Everything is very, but and it has a very nice view. I remember that. It's right across from the plaza. You can see the whole surrounding area. It does have probably the prettiest view. But again, just not that big. And then
it's not very walkable. I feel you can walk, but everything's on the hill.
Yeah, it's a little bit more hilly.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't think it's good for everyone. People like me, I don't like hills so much.
Or maybe a little elderly.
Right? Yeah, or elderly have some
issues with knee issues, hip issues. It could be a problem.
And lots of places, just a lot of whining on the hill.
Right.
It's not my favorite.
Right. So again, I know again, as far as public to everybody in the parks, again, I know there's one other walking area. Again, we never walked there personally, but I've never seen it. Never caught my attention to be like, oh, I really want to go walk there. Right?
Yeah.
And then they do have
a golf course there.
That's what I was going to bring up. They do have a golf course,
but it's very pricey, right? That's what I heard.
I don't think it's pricey for a golf course. I mean, I think it's pretty standard. Maybe U.S. standard price for a golf course, which for Mexico is maybe pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So again, if you do like to golf and you want a golf course right at hand, it's
right there,
right outside your door. Yeah, then I think that's a definite plus. I think of the 4 places we're talking about, that's the only one that has its own golf course.
Yeah, I know there's no lake there.
Not that I've seen.
I know there's a lake by the golf course, but you have to be the member to get it there.
To get that little view.
Yeah, or a few apartments, which people who live in those apartments can walk to the lake or have a lake view. Right. It's not really like a lake for people to take a walk along the lake.
Sure.
This they don't offer.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, but in Juriquilla, Zakia, Refugio,
they do.
There's a lake.
Right, the little places, parks you can walk around. And now I think for the last thing for the schools and hospitals, we can kind of talk about all Zibata, Refugio, and Zakia all at the same time.
Yeah, because it's a similar area.
Because they're all in the same area. They're all within short distance of each other. All right, so let's move on to Refugio.
Yeah.
El Refugio.
Refugio, one of the more established neighborhoods.
I would guess maybe of the 4, maybe the oldest, maybe?
It seems maybe that's the oldest, then Juriquilla, then Zibata, Zakia is the newest.
Sure, of those, right? So El Refugio, again, it is a very well-established neighborhood. Again, also has lots of amenities. Again, you could pretty much live in El Refugio and never leave if you didn't want to.
Right.
You're going to have all your restaurants, all your medical care. Well, small clinical stuff, maybe not hospitals.
Yeah, there are a few pharmacies there.
Little clinics, all your restaurants, all your Oxxos, dentists, daycares.
A few daycares inside.
Right.
And very
gyms.
close to the HEB.
Oh, and El Comer.
La Comer.
Right outside.
And very close to the Paseo.
Queretaro, which is the mall.
Yeah, right across the street.
Right. So as far, for the La Comer, HEB, Walmart, El Paseo, I think it's the closest to all of them.
And then the public hospital, which is the big one we always pass by. Right. Just right there.
Right outside the public hospital is right there, right outside for the which is the IMSS hospital, which is the state-sponsored hospital. Right there. And I think it's pretty new too.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know much about it, but I know it seems pretty new and it's always very busy. So it does have very good conveniences and amenities, all very close to it. Right. Now, again, here I think rents and buying can vary quite a bit. Right? Because here you also have houses and apartments built by developers, and you can also build custom homes. Right? They do have a lot of custom homes that are like on the roads.
On the road,
right? And there's still lots being sold.
Refugio is also gated. They have a security outside. They have the first gated
which is very
gate,
lax.
and then you get inside. There are houses. Some has gate, some no gate. Like Rob said, some just right on the streets. And there are so many empty lots there. If
so you can still buy.
You still can buy, and people are still building up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the gate, I will say that it is a lot more lax than like Zibata.
Right.
I mean, they literally just like push the button. You're supposed to show your ID, like and it's like a little camera, right? They never ask you where you're going. They never check your trunks. Like you just kind of flash in front of the camera, and they open up the gate, and you just go in, right?
Right.
And then
good or bad.
They do have the visitor side and the resident side. And again, so if you're a visitor, you're on one line. It tends to be long. Maybe I shouldn't let the secret out. But even if you're just a guest, you can go to the resident side. And again, you just kind of flash your ID out the window, and they open up the gate and you just go.
They don't know. They don't care. You really live there.
Well, because if you live there, you're supposed to have the little tag,
true. Yeah.
right? They open up the gate automatically, but they'll still open up the gate for you. So if they see if you see 20 cars in the visitor side and you don't want to wait 20 cars and there's only 5 on the resident side, just go to the resident side.
Yeah, right.
They're a little bit more lax there.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's a good little tip if you want to get in a little quicker. I know I go there every day to drop off Louis. That's where we take Louis to our daycare. And so I'm not going to wait in line every single day, like 20 cars deep to get in.
Right. Okay, let's move on with the parks. What do you think about the parks there? I like the parks there.
Very nice.
They are older parks. That means more shades. All the trees are more mature, higher, got a lot of shades, especially for here in the middle of the day. So that would be we love that spot. Just go to the lake, take a walk.
Very nice, very well established. Right. That one little playground by the lake is a little bit more broken, but still decent.
Yeah, it's a little bit broken.
But the lake itself and the walk area around it is very nice.
Maintained very nice.
Maintained very nice. They do have the dog park right across the street that looks very shady.
Right.
And then next to the dog park, they have all the basketball courts and stuff, and there's some more playgrounds that go down that way. And then they have that one little hidden park we like to go to. It's kind of in the neighborhood. It's still open,
nice.
And that's also very well manicured, very nice. It does have a little bit nicer equipment, and again, just very nice and shady, very cool. Yeah. Basketball courts, volleyball court.
Yeah, lots of plazas there.
Lots of plazas. Yeah. Like we said, for the amenities, definitely Refugio has a lot of stuff for you to do.
Right.
For sure.
Why we didn't choose that? Why we chose Zakia?
Well, that's a good question. So we chose Zakia, right?
Yeah. No, that's what we bought housing.
Right. So that's what we chose.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So yeah, Zakia is probably the newest one of these places. So the cost here is pretty reasonable. I would say maybe on par with El Refugio. Definitely between Juriquilla and Zibata is probably slightly below. Like we just talked about, maybe you might pay a couple $100s or a few $100,000 more pesos to buy. So you're getting a little bit more, in my opinion, you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck. Right. You know, if you don't need all the amenities of like Zibata and you save a little bit of money and you have just as nice a house, this is the place to look in Zakia.
Yeah, but most houses here has a smaller lots, means a smaller backyard.
Yeah. I think even I can't speak too much for Zibata and their backyard.
Zibata, I think they have a little bit bigger. Also depends which neighborhood you buy.
Sure.
Here we've been to so many neighborhoods, so we get a pretty clear idea.
Oh yeah, we're probably definitely the most well versed in Zakia. So cost can be pretty reasonable, maybe $500 for renting starting, depending for
400 you can find in Risco.
Yeah, so some apartments you can start at 400
for like 8,000 peso.
Right, and then maybe our house could rent for what you said, maybe 1,600 furnished.
Yeah, I think that's the price range for furnished.
So that's about
16.
maybe nowadays that's about what, $850, $870, $870 US dollars, give or take. For which I would consider our house a pretty decent size for here in Zakia.
Yeah, it's
one of the bigger
than most houses.
Bigger than most houses, right? Yeah. Definitely bigger than apartments. So again, that's kind of looking in your range. Maybe Dolce might go for a little bit more. But that's going to be your basic idea as far as what you're paying. Maybe 3 million pesos for the most expensive house here, 3.1, 3.2.
Yeah, besides Dolce, then most houses, the newer ones, maybe 3 mil,
2.8, nowhere there.
Yeah.
So
depends on the size.
Right, price is going to be pretty reasonable here for what you get. Amenities, I think that's one of the things where Zakia lacks, is the amenities, right? Because it's the newest. And so they're still developing. We already have
three
plazas. We have 3 plazas. two of which are right next to each other.
And there are two new ones that are coming up.
Right. So we have two in the back, one in the front that's already built, and then we have two more coming. Right. And I think there's even a fourth one, another one coming right across the lake from where we live. So again, it's on coming. The way.
Yeah.
Right. But again, as far as the most amenities, you're definitely looking. As far as amenities, you're looking at the least here. Right. Yeah, so far.
Yeah, but they're all new, brand new. Right. Everything's just nice and new.
So you don't have as much variety here, right? And the little things, like if you have a kid, like for us, we don't have a daycare. There's still no daycare here.
Oh, yeah, no daycare here.
Right, so we got to go.
Yeah, that's painful.
And then just until recently, there was no gym here. Now they finally opened up the first gym, which is Anytime Fitness.
Yeah.
So before, when I joined the gym, I had to go to Refugio. I still do. I just
but the thing is, if you don't know, literally every gated community here offer a gym. But just the equipment, they're like a really less or more.
like the gym now for us, there's like a bench there.
Yeah.
And then they have dumbbells, and I think the heaviest dumbbell is 25 pounds.
Yeah, the thing is just not enough weights and equipment for Ra to work out.
Right, and I think for most men, right, who are serious about working out.
Yeah, then you go to the gym.
Right. Yeah. Now, I think one of the biggest things that we liked, and I think that was one of the things that attracted us here, was the green space.
The green space, to be honest, that's the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, where it lacks is maybe you don't have the mature trees yet.
Yep.
But you're dealing with in our opinion, the biggest, more open, most playgrounds.
You can just walk easily. 1 hour. You can walk around everywhere. Right. And if you like cycling, there's I forgot how long. It's a bike trail. It's tedious long. You can just ride forever.
Right. It's definitely the biggest, longest, greenest space of all of the places.
And in the middle, there's a huge lake.
Right. With a little cafe there, you can have your coffee and little food.
And don't forget to mention the view. We have all the hills around. Right. We're on the higher space. So in Juriquilla, we just talked about. In Juriquilla, we took a walk. We don't see those beautiful mountain views.
No.
Right,
maybe if you're on the edge of Juriquilla,
maybe. But most places, Refugio, you see a little bit. Depends on where you are.
On one edge, towards the back of Refugio, you kind of starts going up a little bit.
Right.
Zibata, if you're on the edge of Zibata, you get the view. Right. If you're in the middle, no view.
You also don't see.
For here, so you go to the park and you can see down to the valleys. You can see the mountains in the distance. You can see Zibata
really
above us.
Pretty.
So it does have, in our opinion, again, the prettiest view. Right.
Yeah.
So if you like to be outside, you have kids or dogs, or you just like to be active, again, to us, hands down, Zakia wins. You get, again, the longest, biggest green space, bike trails, walking trails, beautiful views, nice fresh air, constantly. So
how many kids playgrounds here? I don't even know the number. There's so many.
Oh yeah, I would say a minimum
at least
6.
five, 6. Yeah.
No, at least. And then the thing that we always say Zakia, but then if you keep on going around a little curve, it becomes Zizana.
Yeah, right? Which is in our neighborhood, but they name it another name.
Right. But I think people think of it, they still think Zakia, right?
Yeah.
And just keeps it, because it's literally just a whoop and you're there.
Yeah, there are another 2 lakes there.
Another playground there.
Another playground there. Right. And they're still developing.
And they're still developing back there, right? So I think that's the thing that attracted us here, was just, we had our dogs, we have our son Louis, we found a very good backyard, they have a huge playground, great green space. I think that was the ultimate deciding factor for us as far as why we chose Zakia.
Yeah.
Right. And then when it comes to schools, hospitals, I think, again, we'll talk about all of them.
Yeah.
There's the hospital. Well, I think that's what we're furthest from. I think there's the public hospital. And if you're into the system and you can go there, great. It's very close. For anything else, for any other hospital, you have to go a little bit further. You have to go, if you want to go to a private one, I think Star Medica might be the closest one. Would be Star Medica, which is, again, that's where I go. Very nice. After Mosconi, it's probably the newest, most modern hospital. Already has established doctors. Great healthcare. Right. And that's maybe 15 minutes away. Right. So not too bad. Now with schools, again, they do offer a lot of schools out here. Right. I think with like Zibata, they don't have any international schools in there, as far as I know. So they have to travel a little bit. I know, like, Refugio has the Canadian school right outside. It has Colegio Lennox right outside.
Yeah, we have a French school right outside.
Right, and then we have the French school right outside our neighborhood.
And the Swiss school is also close by.
Oh yeah, which is also right there in Refugio, the Swiss school. Right, so if you're in Zibata and you want to send your kids there, that's fine. It's not that far. Again, depending on how far you live into Zibata, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes max. So you're not even that far. But again, they are a little bit closer to the Refugio. Probably has the most closest to to it, and then we have the one French school right outside our neighborhood too, which is very nice. So there is a lot of choice. And then if you go down the road that connects this side of town to Juriquilla, there's even a few international schools up in there, right?
And I think another good part of living this part of town is we're closer to the airport. We're further from San Miguel de Allende, but we're closer to the airport.
Right. You want to get to the airport, 15, 20 minutes max, and you're at the airport, which is very nice. And then you also, and if you like vineyards, I guess they can go to the amenities. You're very close to the kind of like what they call the Ruta de Queso y Vino, right? The cheese and wine route. There's lots of vineyards. There's the Polo vineyards, like 5-10 minutes away from us. You're probably within where we live. You probably have 3 or 4 vineyards within 20 minutes. If you're into wine and cheese, boom, right there next to you.
Closer, yes.
Right. And then of course more as you go into Tequis and Bernal. You're an hour away from all those.
Right. And the distance to the Centro are pretty similar.
Yeah, I would say between Refugio is going to be the closest. Because you're right just boom, you're probably looking.
Zibata is the furthest.
Is the furthest. So you're probably looking maybe, let's call it on average, let's say Refugio maybe 10 minutes, Zakia 15, Zibata 20.
Yeah, right? To the Centro.
To the Centro.
To the Air Centro, historic, that would be a little bit further.
Yeah, about. Right. I'll give or take. That's on. Right. Give it. They're about 5 minutes difference between each place. I would say, approximately. Right. So that's kind of these 4 places broken down to how we see them. Now, I guess as a little special added bonus, we were kind of talking about that. If we talked about the favorite neighborhood, well, obviously we're a little biased, and we would say Zakia.
Yeah, right? Because the green space.
Right, that's what we really like. Yeah. Now, if we had to choose between these places and Zakia wasn't an option, where would we choose? You first, me first.
You can go first.
Okay. If I had to choose right now, I actually might say Refugio. Because it's like we said, it still has, in my opinion, maybe the second best parks that are very nice and mature. It has lots of amenities and lots of plazas. Again, you're probably the closest to Centro of the 4, because even Juriquilla is pretty far from Centro. So you're probably the closest to the Centro. And again, with Louis being pretty much close to being school age, we have a lot of options. We got, like I said, 3 or 4 international schools right outside the door in El Refugio. And again, things like little things. I like to go to the gym. There's a gym right there I go to.
And they're also very close to the La Platela, which is the very local neighborhood. If you want to find a more local taco store, what's a Manudo,
little shops,
Bilia,
right. All the little shops. Pretty much everything you find everywhere we've talked about. If you want a little bit less, like very local, you go to La Pradera, which is like the very local
and that's
neighborhood.
Really good.
Yeah,
it tastes good,
so
and the price good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet maybe also outside of Juriquilla there should be some other.
I'm sure there probably are a few.
Explore that.
Right. Yeah. So that's where I would choose. Refugio would be my choice. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe Juriquilla.
Why?
I think even the mall. Yeah, I know it's always busy, very busy during the weekend, but we can always go during the weekday morning. To do a better walk around, to do some shopping. And also close to my favorites, many buffet restaurants. So we can save 1 hour round trip every time, get fatter, can eat more. And
close to San Miguel.
And then closer to San Miguel, it's always a good getaway, even just for a day trip. You can save 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah,
easily.
At least. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Juriquilla is also nice. I do like the park in the Santa Fe. It's very shady, very well maintained. Like we took Louis there in the morning. I don't even feel it's too much sun.
It was 11 o'clock in the morning. Already
and here in Zakia, no way. It's just way hot unless he can hide under the playground in the little shady area. So that's also the advantage. And there are more English-speaking kids or parents. Maybe you can make more friends. Yeah. And a lot of expats meeting. They like to set up in the Juriquilla. Every time for me, like, that's so far, a 1 hour drive. Nah, I'm okay.
Yeah, and if you want to send your kid to the
JFK
best school, you send to JFK is there.
I mean, there are advantages there.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And you can find a house with a bigger backyard.
Right. Or just go right next door to Juriquilla, or the big houses with the big yards.
I don't like Juriquilla so much. Too much cobblestones. It's not for me.
So anyway, those are our choices. Where if we were to choose, Zakia, El Refugio,
Juriquilla.
Right. Oh, so let us know what you think. If you're considering moving to Querétaro, where are you considering moving? Would you consider moving to one of these places that we've mentioned?
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot more to Querétaro than just these four. These are very kind of modern, new places. For some people, that's not their thing. But hey, for some it is. That's what they're looking for. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, if you need a realtor recommendation or moving here, you have any questions, let us know. You can email us. The email address is in the below.
All right, have a good one.
All right,
Bye-bye.
see ya.